Hello, everyone. My name is Shakiba Shayani. I'm the President and CEO at the Guelph Chamber of Commerce, and I will be the moderator for today. As a leading voice of business, the Guelph Chamber is pleased to be hosting this question and answer session. Thank you to the candidates for joining us today. I'd also like to thank our sponsor for today's session, Guelph Today. We greatly appreciate your support. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that Guelph is on treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the New Credit Nation of the Anishinaabe peoples. During our region's rich Indigenous history, these lands have been home to the Attawandaron, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Métis. We express gratitude for the sharing of these lands, and we also acknowledge the tragic history between Indigenous peoples and settlers. Indigenous peoples have governed themselves for thousands of years before settlers arrived in Canada. Each First Nation, for example, had its own ways of making decisions based on its community's needs and values. Many of these distinct ways of governance continue today, and the lessons of community needs-based governance are principles we could greatly benefit from. At the Guelph Chamber of Commerce, we continue to play an important role in bringing together business and community leaders to advocate to all levels of government for policies and leadership that enhance the social and economic prosperity of our city, including through discussions like this one. I'd now like to introduce the candidates in alphabetical order of last name. When I call your name, please tell us about yourself and why you believe you are the best candidate to represent Ward 3. So first, I'll begin with Phil Alt.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shayani. I'd like to thank both the Chamber and those who are watching this for the opportunity to speak to residents of Ward 3. I'm very pleased to again stand for Councillor for Ward 3. My experience and understanding of governance, housing, transit, and financial accountability is important for City Council. Council must ensure it makes sound decisions on finances, infrastructure, recreational and cultural programming over the next 4 years, to name but a few of the decisions that need to be made. We must prepare Guelph for growth. Water, energy, and climate change are forefront in our challenges. As I am a collaborator, unhindered by ideology, and as I am in love with Guelph, I believe that I am quite capable, and my experience in the past will provide me with the opportunity to serve Ward 3 effectively. I ask residents to visit my website at phil@philalt.ca or call me at 519-900-1441 if you have any further concerns about which you would like to speak. Thank you again, and thank you for the very wonderful territorial acknowledgement that was done, Ms. Shayani.
Thanks, Phil. John Bertrand.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you again. My name's John Bertrand. I'm the father of 2 girls, and I'm a local realtor. We need electives who can collaborate and work together to achieve results. As a realtor, I'm essentially a small business owner, meaning that I'm responsible for my own budgeting. I work together with other realtors to help our clients achieve their goals. I'm a husband and a father who wants to build a safer, more sustainable, and affordable future for our children. I think these are critical assets I bring to Ward 3. With all the history, social, and cultural diversity, there's no better place like our beautiful city. But there's work to be done. I will listen and fight for what's important to my constituents, and my constituents can also reach me at johnbertrand@guelph.ca.
Thank you, John. Kevin Bowman.
Thank you, Shakiba, for the opportunity to speak to the Chamber. My name is Kevin Bowman. I've been a resident of Guelph for 17 years, and in that time I've done many things, but perhaps the most relevant to your audience would be I co-founded a board game cafe downtown and was the general manager of that for about 2 years. My main motivation for running, I have many, but the main one is I feel like the city faces many serious challenges, dare I say crises, and I don't feel like City Hall or City Council are acting with enough urgency in the face of these crises. And so if elected, I would be pushing for more significant and faster moving action on the various crises that we're seeing. I'm particularly concerned about cost of living, homelessness, and the mental health and addictions crisis that we're facing. And I strongly believe that solving these problems, and I do use the word solve intentionally, I think they can be solved, not only are solving these problems the humane and the moral thing to do for folks that are suffering, but it's also good for local economy and the business sector. So if you would like to get in touch with me or get more information, my website is kevin-bowman.org, and I can be reached at kevin4guelph@gmail.com.
Thank you, Kevin. Nathan Ford.
Hi, Nathan Ford. I've been in Guelph, born and raised. I'm a small business owner. I'm a massage therapist. My life is around helping people. For 15 years now, I've served this community. I travel to people's homes when they can't come to me. I talk to a lot of people, and the concerns have all been mentioned with the other people talking. Homelessness, mental health, addictions, everything. I live in Ward 3. I'm very close to seeing and talking with these people. I have friends that have worked with these people directly. There is an urgency to help them, and I believe there's a lot that we can do and that needs to be done in the next 4 years to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. The first question is, what have you been hearing when you're knocking on doors, speaking with constituents in your ward? We'll start with John.
Well, during my campaign so far, I've heard a few of the same concerns: affordability and the rising number of community members experiencing homelessness is probably the most common. Car and garage theft is also an issue I've heard repeatedly, and I have experienced it myself on multiple occasions. Although it's not a municipal issue, people are expressing their fears and concerns about the privatization of healthcare. And as for the small businesses, finding staff seems to be the consensus there. These are the most common concerns I'm hearing, but most definitely not the only ones. Should I be elected, I fully plan to start addressing these concerns and bringing them to council's attention.
Thank you. Kevin, what have you been hearing?
Yes, I've been hearing mostly the same topics coming up again and again, as John just mentioned. Affordability, particularly housing, as well as homelessness and mental health and addictions, as well as I was going to say petty crime. I can't think of another term, but yeah, break-ins and the like, and theft. And so I don't want to belabor that, other than to say that I think these issues are very much related. And so I think we need a multi-pronged approach of tackling all of these issues at the same time if we're going to make significant improvements.
Thank you. Phil, to you.
Thank you, Ms. Cheyenne. I think that Kevin has hit the nail on the head. A multi-pronged approach is necessary for this. The key concern I honestly see and hear in Guelph is the quality of life within the community. People want to maintain it and improve it. And in order to deal with that, people have comments on infrastructure, on growth, on water, on addiction, mental health, downtown revitalization, and housing costs. And housing costs is key to many people. As we become more of a commuter city, our housing costs are rising. And as a university town, I worry about that. I worry also about our seniors. So I would have to say that we've got a number of concerns that need to be addressed in a thoughtful, holistic fashion that will allow us to improve the quality of what is arguably one of the best lifestyles that anybody can have in Guelph. Let's keep doing it for the betterment of the whole of the city.
Thank you. Nathan, what have you been hearing?
The exact same thing. People are worried about the mental health, the addictions issues. And I think we're all on the same page. We need to help these people for the betterment of the community, for them, but for everybody around them.
Thanks. And we're going to ask a specific question about that shortly. So if you're okay, we'll move on to the next question, which will be posed to Kevin first. What do you believe is the biggest challenge or opportunity facing Guelph City Council in the upcoming term? Kevin?
Yeah, that's really hard to pick just one. I suppose I would say the housing affordability piece, because I really do think that that's at the root of a lot of these other challenges that are starting to become more and more exacerbated because of it. And so there have been some significant changes recently, like the comprehensive zoning bylaw review, which made some significant steps in the right direction in terms of land use planning and development, but I don't think it goes quite far enough. I think we need to go further. And I think we need to look at other tactics for creating more supply or freeing up more supply in housing markets, such as vacancy taxes and things like of that sort.
Thank you. Nathan, what do you believe is the biggest challenge or opportunity facing Guelph City Council?
Again, the mental health and the issues downtown is one of the biggest things. I know you said you're going to ask a specific question. I think that is one thing that is on people's minds and bothering a lot of people because they just don't want to go downtown. And downtown is right now set up for people to go and relax and enjoy. Biggest opportunity for Guelph, we are in the center of a hotbed of jobs and technological advancement. Waterloo has huge jobs coming, Google, Amazon, all that stuff. It's moving in and around us. Without the housing, we won't be able to accommodate those people moving here and living here and spending their money here, basically. But Guelph is a fantastic city, and I think we have an opportunity to take advantage of the build up around us and within us.
Thank you. Phil, what do you think?
Thank you. First thing I think that we've got some very thoughtful answers coming from all of the candidates. And I think that we should be aware that this is a significant challenge for everyone, but the key issue is growth. And we have to understand that growth needs to be done wisely. We have to address transit issues, housing issues, green space. We have to consider industry and commerce. We need to encourage people to work where they live and to ensure that we have the appropriate transit systems for that. We should also consider that with growth, we need to look at the university and the role that it plays because of the 25 to 35,000 people that come into the city every year. Finally, we must address how we interact with communities around us, including Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, and Hamilton. And that gets back to our massive challenge of regional transit and growth. So growth lumps it all in and even includes the issue of mental health. And I certainly thank Mr. Ford for having brought that up.
Thanks, Phil. John, what do you think the biggest challenge or opportunity is for council in the next term?
Well, I agree with all these answers we're hearing so far, but personally, I have to go with affordable housing here. We need to work with developers on getting the approvals faster. As a realtor, I'm seeing new construction delays on a monthly basis, and that is just unacceptable during a housing crisis. If we constantly have a lack of supply, then demand continues to grow, making affordable housing more difficult to achieve. We also need to work with other municipalities to attain more supply. Otherwise, their demand will continue to spill onto us. We need to encourage second dwellings and accessory apartments through grants or lower interest loans so that we don't only rely on high rises to increase our density. This way, we don't sacrifice Guelph's history and character.
Thanks, John. We're going to move on to the next question. In the past term of council, the Transportation Master Plan was approved, which outlines updated mode share targets. So for example, the municipality has set transit use to increase by 10% by 2051. What do you think it will take to achieve this increased usage and to ensure that transit is accessible and affordable? We'll start with Nathan.
Transit's always been a hot topic amongst people. I remember years ago in high school trying to take the bus to get to work. That is a long time ago realizing, but it hasn't changed much either. It's only added 2 bus routes, if I remember correctly, in the last 5 years. I think to keep it affordable and a viable option, we need to have more buses, we need to have more routes, we need to have late night bus routes, which causes other issues, but also adds other avenues for more income. Anybody that I know takes the bus is generally complaining about taking the bus. Years ago, my brother moved to Toronto, and coming back to Guelph, he said, to live in this city, you need a car. The bus system is not an option. I think that should be addressed. We need to look at that.
Thank you. Phil, what do you think?
Thanks. Great question, Ms. Cheyenne. About 2 years ago, I took the transit challenge, and I decided that I would take the bus for a month. And I recognized at that point what a tremendous challenge public transit is. And I'm going to go really radical here. I really do believe that the way to improve transit is for the provincial government to step up and provide greater funding for local transit the way that they're providing transit for Metrolinx and GO. The problem with transit is that we have a shared costing of transit that puts a tremendous financial strain on the city, and then people complain about it. We subsidize transit, which I'm in favor of. I'm in favor of as much as any other form of getting people off the roads. I like that we can put bikes on buses. I think we need to make transit more accessible, more appealing, and we need to ask the province to step up. This isn't just an issue of getting people around. It's an issue of global warming and climate change and public policy and determination to do the right thing.
Thank you. John, what do you think about how to increase transit usage and ensure its affordability and accessibility?
Well, Phil nailed it there. It all comes down to habits. It's easy to jump in your car and get to where you need to go, but not so easy when it comes to public transit. We need to change that and make it easier, more reliable, and affordable to use. We can maybe discount senior tickets and even let them ride for free like they do in a lot of European cities. I will advocate for more funding from the provincial and federal governments to support additional GO train connections. We can create a bus lane on our busier streets to make public transit more convenient during high traffic hours. As Phil mentioned, Guelph is the model when it comes to green initiatives, and public transportation is one of the easiest ways to protect our environment, lower our carbon footprint, and help with the traffic congestion as we grow.
Thank you. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, I would largely agree with what's been said so far. As somebody who's lived in Guelph for, as I say, about 17 years, and most of those years I've not owned a car. So I'm a regular transit user. I actually drove a bus as a Guelph Transit bus driver for about 2 years. And I guess the things I would add to what's been said already is that transit, if you want more people to use transit, you have to make it their preferred choice. So it's got to be frequent, it's got to be fast, it's got to be reliable, and it's got to be going where they need to go. And so we need to do that. And I agree with the other speakers that getting the funding sorted out might be a bit of a challenge, but in the end, there's a ton of research to show that every dollar you invest in transit yields like $4 or $5 in economic activity in return. So there might be an upfront sticker price, but I think the returns are more than worth the investment.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our next question, a topic that all of you have already touched on. But I'm curious specifically what you believe the role of the municipality is in addressing homelessness, mental health, and addictions in our community. Phil, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Ms. Cheyenne. The role of the municipality is to ensure that we do not allow anybody to remain unhoused, and that we ensure that hospital care and mental health care is available for people. Mental health care and addiction is a serious problem. Nobody put on their resume in high school that they wanted to be an addict when they grew up. Addiction is a symptom of a deeper cause, and we need to recognize that it's not just something found on the street. It is something that is found in the homes. The city is fairly limited in what it can do, but what we can do is we can lobby the province for greater support for mental health and lobby the federal government for changes in the Canada Health Act to ensure that effective reforms of healthcare are done to address issues that are becoming quite significantly, as I witnessed yesterday when I was downtown at the Addictions Awareness Day, a problem that we are facing day to day and hour by hour in some cases.
Thank you. John, what do you think the municipality's role should be?
Well, as a regular volunteer at Hope House, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of community members experiencing homelessness. Many of them suffer from addiction or mental health problems. I listened to our provincial representatives say that they would advocate for OHIP to cover mental health expenses, and I plan to hold them accountable to this. Wait times to public facilities have grown since the pandemic, and what I'm hearing from professionals in this field is that people need ongoing support. I would advocate to the higher governments to create a public-private partnership with the private mental health and addiction facilities. Also, more supportive housing is essential.
Thank you. Kevin, what do you believe the role should be?
I would largely agree with the former speakers that in a technical sense, and like legally, there's not a whole lot of actual responsibilities put on municipalities, but in a moral sense, tons, that we should be doing everything we can. And I totally agree that mental health is health and therefore should be covered by OHIP and needs to be part of healthcare, a comprehensive version of healthcare that we're lacking, unfortunately. And I totally agree that supportive housing and shelter and meeting people's basic needs is a huge part of preventative approach to mental health. Right now, unfortunately, we wait until people are sick and suffering before trying to help them. And that's horrible for them, but it's also horrible for everybody else who's involved. And it doesn't make financial sense either. It's far cheaper to help people in the early stages of their struggles than to try and deal with the situation after the fact.
Thank you for your answers. Nathan?
Again, everybody's hit on the topic. The only thing I would add is creating a program that would make the homeless, the people that are struggling with addiction, feel part of the community, bring them in, offer them opportunities to learn and grow with us so that hopefully they wouldn't have a chance to slip back into those habits. From what I understand of opioids and stuff, you feel nothing. It doesn't matter the pain that you're in, physical, emotional, mental, it doesn't matter, you don't feel it. And that's very appealing to anybody that's suffered. So I would love to see a program where, the mental health is addressed, but we're not helping them, sending them out the door, and then they're left there to slip back into these old habits. A program where they're given work opportunity or something like that, but not forcing them to work.
Thank you, Nathan. We're going to move on to our next question. And we've covered many issues and opportunities that Guelph faces as a whole. Given the socioeconomic differences in the constituency of Ward 3, we're curious what your key priorities are in serving your ward specifically. John, we'll start with you.
Well, as a first-time politician running for council, I need to speak to my ward and listen to what they would like to see happen. So I'm not familiar with all the issues yet. I pointed out a number of things that I've heard from my campaigning so far, but my plan is to be the voice. So I need to listen, and then I can come back and answer this question at a later date.
Thank you. Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing quite a bit of listening as well as a new candidate. And obviously if elected, my approach and my priorities will be heavily influenced by what I hear from my constituents. But But I got to come back to affordable housing because I think that's going to impact everybody in Ward 3, regardless of their socioeconomic status. Because even the wealthiest of the Ward 3 residents, they're going to have friends or family members or kids that are going to be looking to get into the housing market at some point. And the way things are going right now, that's not looking very good. So yeah, the sooner we can tackle that, the better. And again, I think that the affordable housing and shelter situation is very much exacerbating these other issues that we're talking about, whether it's the break-ins and theft, or whether it's the mental health and addictions. Even the most resilient person, if you lose your shelter, you're going to start making some poor choices.
Thank you. Nathan, how will you prioritize needs?
Ward 3 is a large and very diverse area. Again, like the guys before me, listening to what people are saying, the needs of Silver Creek Speedvale are going to be different from Waterloo Avenue. Everyone's got thoughts, worries, concerns. World's crazy right now. So listening and trying to help out everyone best that we can.
Thank you, Nathan. Phil, to you.
Thank you, Ms. Cheyenne. I want to state that the key priority for Ward 3 that I have is listening and acting. The issues are multifaceted and different wherever you are in the ward. In the Willow Road area, we've got to address issues of parkland, density, and poverty. Other areas, the issues are such things as speeding and traffic along Speedvale Avenue, for example. The rail lines are a challenge in the Paisley-Edinburgh Road area. In some areas, it's building permits or challenges with starting of construction. Affordable housing is a huge issue. It's a deep challenge. We can address that through encouraging the development of tiny houses and units that are attached for family residents and so on, so we can keep people in the home. We have an aging population in Ward 3. We have a younger population as well. Let's make certain that we ensure that all the facilities are here that are needed, including recreational, cultural, and working.
Thanks, Phil. It's now time for you to provide some closing remarks. We'll hear remarks in the reverse order of the opening ones, and a friendly reminder that you have 30 seconds to provide them. Nathan, we'll start with you.
Sorry, didn't unmute. In closing, this is my first time, but I've lived here most of my life. I love this city, and as in with my practice, I just want to help. I'm here, and my intentions are to do the best for Guelph that I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
I would just say thanks once again to the Chamber and to Ms. Cheyenne for inviting me. As many of you may know, counselor is considered a part-time position. Fortunately, I'm in a position in my life where I can and fully intend to dedicate myself to this position on a full-time basis if elected. And I intend to be the most available, responsive, and well-informed counselor that I can be. I would be honored to have your vote and your support. You can find out more about my priorities and how to reach me at my website, kevin-bowman.org.
Thank you. John?
First, I want to take a second to thank you again, Shakiba, for hosting this candidate Q&A session. It has also been a pleasure getting to know and hear from all the candidates. I know past councils have worked hard and diligent to improve Guelph, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. That said, it's time we do politics differently. This election, we need to vote for the candidates who can work collaboratively with each other and get the results our city is asking from us. My commitment to Ward 3 is to hold other governments accountable and to be a strong advocate. I will address affordability, transit, mental health, homelessness, equality, climate crisis, and be your voice. I hope I can earn your trust and vote in this upcoming election.
Thanks, John. Phil?
Thanks very much again. Many thanks to both you as moderator and to all the candidates for providing thoughtful ideas that we will address. I wish to also thank residents for participating in local democracy. Guelph needs experience in municipal government as we grow over the next 30 years. Sound decision-making on housing, living conditions, working employment are the business of council. We need a councillor who is flexible and forward-thinking. I am committed to listening to you. And as I say on my brochure, together we will build a healthy future for all who live in Guelph. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you to all of you candidates for joining us today and putting your name forward during this election. And thank you to our sponsor, Guelph Today, for today's session as well. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. A friendly reminder that Election Day is on Monday, October 24th. And for more information about all of the candidates and where to go vote, do visit vote.guelph.ca.